Georgia has actually gone through this process of removing the Confederate flag from the state flag. And there is some really interesting perspective I wanted to share from the state Senate around when they were considering removing the stars and bars. All right, so what happened here in Georgia? We actually put the Confederate flag on our state flag back in 1956. That's nearly 100 years after the Civil War ended. The state Senate says it had basically gone away after the war. Until the late 40s, it was only used in places that honor Confederate soldiers. But our state introduced it when there was a huge push within the legislature to prevent integration. Now, this was just 2 years before the Supreme Court decision Brown versus Board of Education. And here is what the state Senate said about that. Quote, when the battle flag was incorporated into the Georgia state flag, the state was in a desperate situation to preserve segregation, resisting, avoiding, undermining, and circumventing integration was the 1956 General Assembly's primary objective. One of our representatives who voted against adding the Confederate flag later said, quote, there was only one reason for putting that flag on there. Like the gun rack in the back of a pickup truck, it telegraphs a message. So the legislature voted to remove the stars and bars from our state flag in 2001. Georgia and Mississippi incorporated the Confederate flag into their state flags under very different circumstances. Mississippi adopted it in the 19th century, so the Senate argues it likely didn't have much of a racist undertone as flags that were adopted after the 40s.